I checked all the volumes really quick to make sure, and sure enough, everything was turned off, including vibrate. I texted back to the anonymous message, "This is XDS. Copy?" I saw letters slowly typing out in response. "Hold up 3 fingers in the camera if it's you." I held up 3 fingers, and within a second I got a response typed back character by character. "It's about time. We have to hurry if you actually have a plan, 9X. Food started rolling by, so I knew we had about 20 more minutes until the older orderlies would come by next. I typed out as absolutely much of the plan as I could. The plan included some of the newest ideas based on the updates I read in the binder that had been updated overnight. It included also the truncated time windows I thought we had. He sent a check back in an hour, and he'll try to get everything ready. We'll try to eat as fast as we can, and then when XXL comes back from his scheduled labbing, we'll implement our plan. Chapter 21, Food and Planning, later morning, day 3. We all ate as fast as we could, XXL taking cues from the both of us, and when it was XX's turn to get picked up, we wished him good luck, and he simply groaned at us. XPX was getting a lot better already and was able to look up and around. He was actually getting up and walking around and even exercising a little bit. I came up with the best rest of the plan that I could, knowing what I knew, and messaged X9X back. "You there? Everything clear?" A moment went by and a response, "I'm here. So far, so good. What's up?" I responded, "Well, I need to know how many total security personnel there are on the island." X9X responded back simply, "There are 5. What's the plan?" 5, I thought to myself, crap. They only ever sent out 3 to the boat. "Do all 5 wear suits 24/7, I asked. X9X responded with, "Yep, but one of them is always off shift, so you only have to deal with 4. The 5th will be off shift, not active." "Well, where's the 5th guard sleep?" I asked. X9X responded that he would take care of the number 5 guard. "Can you tell me how the power comes into the station? Where's it stored and how can we overload it?" He responded by explaining this place has multiple wave generators that spin turbines in an auxiliary station that charge the batteries with lines that run here. Whatever they've got running next level down, it has to be finely balanced with all those batteries, and it's all manual. Alright, I typed, so here is the plan. Chapter 22. Everybody ready? Afternoon, day 3. XXL came back from his labbing with all the 3 orderlies not really looking worn out at all. XXL came back looking like a normal human being almost, and came and sat down like he was confused with his notebook. The orderlies left, and I asked, "You okay there, buddy?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm okay, so what's up?" I let him know that everything was A-okay and asked him if everything was still A-okay with him. XXL responded that he was in it to win it. So I was hoping that was code for him that his mind was in the game and he wasn't just being silly. I tried to confirm by saying that I would need his help with something very important soon, and that he always had my back. And he said he would always have my back, and that's all I needed to hear. Then he went back into color his notebook. That's fine, I thought. Some screams further up the hallway seemed to try to disrupt that thought. Or that, though, as if trying to remind me that there both wasn't a lot of times and that things definitely weren't okay here. Someone else moaned and then screamed down the hallway, either in response or simply coincidentally. It was hard to keep the excitement and nerves down and to keep that look and feel that things hadn't changed too much to not raise suspicion of the guards. I had to be ready for when the boat would get here and things would move very quickly. I tried to push all that out of my head and keep my game face on. I kept reviewing the 3-ring binder and remembered where the guard shack was and remember where the warehouse was and the freight elevator. There was a new page, this one much more poorly hand-drawn but readable. It looked like someone had been to the lower floor maybe one time and they tried to draw to the best of their ability what that lower floor looked like. I quietly unbound it from the book and folded it up and put it in my pocket as I didn't want anyone else to have to go down there. Throughout the day, other people went to and from the lab looking worse and worse, and eventually it was about XPX's turn. He stood up and said, "Well, gents, it's about my turn. I'll be back in a little bit." He didn't hand us his card with a note and picture of Esther, which told me he definitely had his game face on. 3 orderlies came to get him, and now we simply had to wait for him to get back. After that, the boat should be here for its scheduled visit. Chapter 23, Go Time, Day 3. I was wondering to myself in my head, how would I know it would be time to go? I discreetly messaged X9X asking him my thought in text format. He messaged me back saying simply, "You'll know," cut chatter, and that was it. XXL noted to me that I seemed nervous, more nervous than usual, and as if on cue a wailing cry echoed down the hall, and I let out a nervous laugh, almost on accident. XXL continued, "Don't be nervous. I'm sure everything's going to be fine," as if he could tell the future, at least a brief period. I asked him how he could possibly know that, and he responded with something like, "Because the coloring book told him so." I looked over to what he meant, and there was a picture in crayon of all of us on a boat together with big smiles on our faces, waving to the island with the island on fire. "Oh, well, that's a pretty neat picture," I said to XXL. "I will definitely do my best to make sure that becomes a reality in a little bit." I tried to sound as reassuring as possible. I pointed to a smaller stick figure and asked who that was next to all of us, and he responded, "That's Esther, the star girl. She shines bright for all to see." I responded with, "Very cool." And with that, XPX got marched back down the hallway to his cell by the orderlies. XXL switched pages to work on another drawing, the farm again, I think. XPX looked pretty decent, better in fact than before, and we heard the seagulls outside heralding the imminent docking of the supply boat. It was almost time. The orderlies in their black light absorbent uniforms went out to greet the ship and get the supplies. You could feel the readiness in the air. I looked at XXL and XPX, and they both nodded back to me. They felt it as well. Now we simply had to wait for whatever the signal was. Well, it sat there, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible, not wanting to be super interested in the boat, but then realizing we would be interested in the boat any normal time. As if on cue, XXL thinks of this too and hopped up when the alarms were going off to ward off the seal mutants to watch. He relayed back that the seal mutants wobble walked away before they could get semi-electrocuted. After that, the fence came up, secured in place, at which time 3 orderlies came out from their area, and then the train drone came out of its area from the warehouse. Chapter 24. It begins. Day 3. The orderlies tied off the boat, and the train drone arrived soon after, like a dutiful puppy. However, what came afterwards was not part of the daily routine. The train drone got as close to the boat, which was to the end of its track, and then stopped. Then the crane, instead of starting to move cargo, sprang backwards from the train drone towards the ship. That caused the crane to blindside one of the crew members. This knocked them off the boat, and in unison, both sets of shutters closed to the complex. With the shutters going down, the steel fence that held the mutant seals at bay also started to go down. XXL kept relaying the events to us as I began the next part of the plan. The crane took a few more swings, missing everyone who were beginning to figure out the situation, and the drone train in response seemed to go into a defensive mode where it anchored the boat in place with the crane and activated all sorts of countermeasures, including electrifying itself. The orderlies, instead of grouping up with the boat staff, which would have made the most sense, instinctively ran back to the door trying to be let in. They found out, however, that there was no way to get back through the steel shutters without tools. Their cards and pins wouldn't work because there was some message peacefully echoing through the facility saying, "Full lockdown in effect. Full lockdown in effect." With this information, I knew it was time to act. I immediately ran to the guard station, hoping I could get there before there would be a second guard, or before that guard could rescind the lockdown. I imagined the shock on XPX's face when he realized I could run through the hallway the entire time without the jackets or orderlies. It was still emotionally thick hallway, but I could do it without too much effort if I ran fast and get enveloped into it. I grabbed the orderly who was trying to retract the lockdown, but he'd never done it before. He was flipping through the manual with the adrenaline pumping. His motor skills weren't functioning right. I told him it was an emergency and he needed to come quick. For some reason, this almost always worked, and a priority overrode everything, and he came with me. I didn't even need to fight him, and he ran right with me into the cubbies. He didn't even pay attention to the fact that how I had gotten there or anything. The guard and I got to an area where we were between XXL and XPX was, and the guard said, "Where's the emergency?" And then he looked around confused, and in one move I pulled the light absorbent clothes off him, similarly to how you'd pull a shirt up over somebody. I pulled his top right off over him, and it barred his arms from getting to his equipment on his belt or his pockets. Just like that, he was immediately buffeted with negativity and horror from the hallway's nightmare-inducing engine. XPX apparently took this as an opportunity and tackled the guard from one side of our cubby to where XXL hopped down and rushed over to help hold the guy down. I found a pair of handcuffs in his kit and cuffed him to the sink as he was repeatedly hammered with the negativity he'd been so blissfully ignorant of this entire time. XPX continued holding him down as he thrashed violently, screaming along with everyone else in the building, and XXL began putting his clothes on. We got his belt off, which had all sorts of goodies on it, and took his pants off and his boots too. It all ended up being a great fit for XXL, which was good. Now what? They both asked me rhetorically. Great, I said back to them approvingly. And then XPX said, "Well, this was your plan, Smarty." XXL got back to his post and began relaying back that the guards were failing at defending themselves and that the SEALs had boarded the vessel and began eating the shipmates. The ship delivery workers had been able to shoot a couple of the mutant SEALs with their sidearms they must have had on them, but they were unable to get to any of the rifles or the mounted 30 cal before they were divided, cut off from escape, and eaten alive.